Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon from Sweden, and welcome to the first live stream of 2024. The Recruiter Enablement Trailblazers, Holland, McCue, and Adam Gordon are finally coming on the show to explore the road from recruiter enablement to recruiter empowerment in the age of AI and automation. And before I let you guys introduce yourself, I just want to make sure everyone can hear us and that you can see us. And please also let us know where you're tuning in from and what questions you have for us. And as always, make sure to comment summary down in the comment section and connect with me so I can send you the full summary and all the key takeaways from today's show. And for anyone who's new to my live stream, my name is Sarah. I'm a part of Adway, and we do automated social recruitment marketing to enable a 24 storytelling experience to you to attract the best candidates, fully unbiased and automated. So without further ado, my beloved guests of today's show, could you please, Holland and Adam, give us the perspective of who you guys are, what you do for recruiters globally, and what is this thing about recruiter enablement? Give us the scope.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Sarah. You got me jazzed up with your fun intro music. But I'm Holland. I'm a talent attraction and recruiter enablement strategist. I've spent time at companies like Red Hat, Delta Airlines. I recently had a baby, so I'm breaking out and doing some independent consulting to help bring recruiter enablement to the masses. And I'll pass it to Adam before we go into how we each define what RE is.
Nice. Yeah, great. Okay, so I've been in recruitment since 1999, and I'm a big believer that we should be looking at what's going on in sales and marketing and taking the very best processes and technologies from that area and applying it into what we're trying to do in TA. When I started thinking about recruiter enablement, maybe just over a year ago, Holland was one of the first people that I found. We've known each other for a few years, but I didn't realize that Holland had an interest in this area. And I found a video where she was talking about it on stage at a Smart Recruiters event back in 2018. And that's the earliest I saw anybody talking about the subject. So she is the OG
the real
of
OG.
recruiter enablement. Please, yes, if there's any talent sourcers here, please, I'd love you to go into Google during the show, see if you can find anybody talking about recruiter enablement earlier than Holland. You could use your magical sourcing skills to identify others that we can
search.
So Holland and I paired out last year. Yeah, exactly. We paired out last year, did a couple of videos together for a YouTube channel called Recruiter Enablement. And this year we're going to be doing quite a lot of things together in terms of like broadcasts like this and other fun things. So
yeah, I love that.
It's something that I'm really passionate about, and it's a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, definitely. Two things. Adam, it seems like you're coming in and off of the stream. Let us know if you need to update the Wi-Fi. If you're on Starlink, cool, let us know. Secondly, what is the thing about someone buying the domain recruiter enablement? Just I think that's such a good story. What yeah, let us know. What's it about?
Yeah, so I when I decided that I was going to broadcast the subject of recruiter enablement, set up a YouTube channel about it, I wanted to create a website which was like a hub of information, similar to the way that HubSpot created inbound.org to talk a lot about inbound marketing. And I went to go and buy recruiterenablement.com, not available. Okay, so I bought recruiterenablement.org because it was never going to be a commercial website. And then when Holland and I, the first time we spoke about the subject, I said, yeah, I tried to buy that website. And Holland said, oh yeah, I own that. Just a big coincidence.
Yeah. And I bought it back in 2018, Sarah. So like Adam, really believe in taking a lot of parallels from the marketing and sales world, and that being akin to recruitment marketing and recruiting in our space. But I was just coming off a tour in B2B marketing. I was leading a team of field sellers, and I was, managing a content team, but also an enablement hub. So helping them with their content, their playbooks, their market research, everything within this ecosystem. And when I bounced back to TA, it was a big aha for me that, we needed to think about enabling recruiters in the same way that sellers are enabling, or marketing is enabling sellers on the marketing side of the house. And so bought recruitment, recruiterenablement.com 2018, assuming that the industry would catch up. And, here we are.
Here we are catching up. This is perfect. I love that anecdote. And that's obviously why you guys are here with us today. We have a jam-packed 30 minutes ahead. And as we said to everyone watching, make sure to comment summary to get your hands on all the key takeaways from this show, because we're going to spill some tea on recruiter enablement. But moving into the need for recruiter enablement, what we've been seeing is it is definitely now moving up the C-suite when it comes to the C-suite agenda on companies recognizing the need for a revolution driven by recruiter empowerment and a fresh pair of talent strategies. So coming into to today's topic, could you perhaps, Adam, I guess, give us the overall concept of where recruiter enablement sits today and how this is going to be such an empowerment way for teams of talent today?
Yeah, so just a bit of definition, my definition anyway, on what it's all about. So when I spent 10 months in iCIMS after we sold Candidate ID to that company. And the first few months, I spent quite a bit of time with the sales enablement team there. And I didn't know anything about sales enablement. I didn't know what the people did. I didn't know about the technology that enables salespeople in that way as well. And I was really inspired. And so I spent time with them helping to create scripts and props and calculators and outreach messaging and things that sellers could go and just draw down from, and they could say, right, I'm going to be approaching head of talent acquisition at a technology company based in the USA, 10,000 people, 30 in the talent acquisition team. And then they get access to, here's all the things that you need to try and move the sales process forward. So I just thought, what are we doing in recruitment? How are we enabling recruiters? And I did about 200 hours of focus groups last year. And what I found was that the very largest organizations may have something on a SharePoint somewhere or in a Google Drive. They might have some advert templates, but that's probably about it. Not very much. They might have some learning assets. Here's how to do stakeholder management inside our company. Here's how to do how to achieve influence with candidates or whatever. But when I started going into, okay, how are you sharing outreach messaging, and how are you sharing objection handling responses, and how are you sharing elevator pitch scripts and things like that? The answer was that they just weren't. And in most cases, a company's giving their recruiters an applicant tracking system, a LinkedIn login, maybe an Indeed license, and a telephone. And go and get them, go and get the candidates in. And I just didn't think that was sufficient. And so that's why I started moving into this area. And I believe that recruiter enablement, I've split it into 4 things. The acronym I use is MOLT, M-O-L-T, which is...
Of course, there's an acronym. It's Adam Gordon.
There is, yeah. Marketing, operations, learning, and tools. So that's the 4 things that I think make up recruiter enablement. And it's not about strategy. It's not about connecting technologies and stuff like that. It's about what do we put in their hands to help them complete a task. That's what I think it's about. Holland?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree with the acronym. I think for me, it's really, how do we get recruiters to spend more time with qualified leads and less time with everyone else? And that to me is kind of the core of what we as marketers, we as talent acquisition leadership should be doing, is how do we remove roadblocks and give recruiters the resources that they need to be most effective in their roles, and not have them hunting around, doing things off the side of their desk, but really enabling them with a central ecosystem, not necessarily repository, but an ecosystem of content, training, tools, into one hub to really, empower them to be efficient and recruit at a higher velocity, which, as teams are getting leaner, it's not, every day we're hearing about more layoffs in the industry, but as teams are getting leaner, as to your point, Sarah, as, the importance of talent is continuing to go up the chain of the C-suite, we really need recruiters who are empowered and effective at delivering qualified candidates versus, paper pushing and getting bogged down with a lot of administrative burden, which we all know recruiters are inundated with day in and day out.
Absolutely. I agree. And oh, there's perhaps an echo there. Just see. There we go. So on top of, I love the sort of the empowerment aspect of a recruiter enablement, because that's what it comes down to me. Not only you give them like a tool stack or anything that a sales or marketing team obviously would already be benefiting from, but when it comes to like tech-enabled recruiting efficiency, I know you guys have takes on this. Could you just like elaborate a bit more? Like, what is your angle into like empower the right setup here?
Well, there's two things that I'd like to share. The first is what we want to try and eliminate is the number of times that people are going onto Slack and onto Teams and posting, does anybody know where to find, right? And you could insert a policy or a script or like any of about 30 different things in there. And it happens every single day in talent acquisition teams. So we want to really try and eliminate that by making the assets all completely accessible to those individuals. And just as a specific example, in one of the focus groups I did last year, a TA manager said that she'd identified on that day 3 recruiters in her team in different countries who had all written the same job advert on the same day, right?
Yeah.
One of them was good. Yeah, one of them was good. One of them was okay, and one of them was not good. So I said, what would have been a better process? And of course, the answer is, well, the person who writes the good one makes it available to everybody else. So I think the less clicks that a recruiter makes to get the thing they need to complete their task, the better. And that's one of the goals. It didn't quite answer your question, but of course, technology definitely has a big part to play in that. Generative AI does as well, but I think we should maybe come on to that in a few minutes, because Holland's probably got a response around the tech bit.
Yeah, give us your 2 cents, Holland.
Yeah. So I would echo a lot of what Adam's saying, just in terms of like driving efficiency. That's my perspective as well. What I've done, or kind of taken a step further, is how do you leverage tech to feed recruiters the information that they need at a given time? And so to leverage Adam's example of has anyone seen X policy? I've really leaned into technology and my time to build out an ecosystem with word queries, so that a recruiter can go into a single destination and quickly look for what they're trying to find, and it's returned to them in a pretty quick manner, along with some directions on like, how do you use this piece of content, and or how do you leverage this policy? How do you leverage this training? And if there's things that need to be enhanced around it, how do you then quickly get in touch with the person who owns this piece of material? So it's more around leveraging technology for that quick recall. So recruiters aren't fumbling around, 7 different systems, some deep layered SharePoint drive, but really leveraging technology to make sure that they can get the content, the policies, the training they need at the push of a couple of keys. And that's where I've really, leaned into my, practice on actually taking concept to action around enablement for recruiters.
Yeah, and I believe what you said with just enablement, I think you mentioned before when we were thinking, Holland, like enablement leaders also think plays a big part in knowing, like there's educational part around tech and tools as well when it comes to recruiter empowerment. Like how are you supposed to know exactly what drives the revenue or results, like on any given moment during like the candidate journey? So I believe enablement leaders is such a good play in terms of just steering and again optimizing, lowering all those clicks or frustration in the everyday work of a talent professional.
Absolutely. And helping your teams think around the corner, look around the corner. I'll give you at my last shop, we were coming out with a new revenue stream within our organization, and we were going to do some massive hiring both on the go-to-market side as well as in engineering. And we knew that we needed to quickly ramp our teams up on what this new revenue stream was, the importance that it was going to provide to our organization as a whole in terms of like propelling our business forward for the year. And so what we did in that scenario is we, my team gathered as much information as we could. So meeting with leaders who were working on this new product strategy, reading all the content and collateral that they had created from a business, a go-to-market perspective, and then, consolidated that into fact sheets and training assets for our recruiting team, and then actually walk them through an exercise of how do you pitch this? How do you pitch this to prospective candidates that you're getting, through an inbox outreach? How are you, then pitching it again once they're on the phone? And then how are you marrying this to your ideal candidate profile? So in marketing, we talk a lot about the ideal customer profile. So who's essentially your buyer, and your candidate, they're the buyer of your organization, of the job opportunity that you're taking to them. And so we worked really hard to enable these recruiting teams with the pitch as they were taking this new revenue stream to market, and helping them identify what's that ideal candidate profile that's going to be able to either develop or sell this new product line that we were coming out with within our organization. And that's, we train them on all that content. And then we also hosted a pitch contest internally, and then ton of fun. So we had, in the safe space of our team, had different teams, practice what they had learned from our enablement function before they themselves were getting on the phone or, going out to market to bring these candidates into our organization. And then we aggregated all those learnings into that shared system that I was talking about for recall later, so that individuals can continue to evolve as they were learning more, as they were going out in the market about what was working and what wasn't working, to bring this talent that was so critical to the bottom line of our organization in-house.
I love that. And it would be like the most natural activity on any given sales team, sales enablement team. But like it does not sit on the same, it doesn't come as natural to talent teams. So this is, again, like people looking and watching on the show, copy paste. This is brilliant. And obviously, I mean, anything that just comes down into an ICP perspective, treating your talent or candidates as the most desired client is the only way forward, And everyone can be a customer as well.
For sure. And if I can expand on that, Sarah, you triggered something in my brain. I think we get so wrapped up in talent acquisition around the step and status of the candidate, of are they in the right step of the process? Have you added the right status in the applicant tracking system? And I think that really dehumanizes the experience quite often. And I think if we were to just sidestep slightly and think more around the motions of engaging with talent, we would be better off as a function. And so those motions are, prospecting, qualifying, closing, and really putting the candidate at the center and personalizing that experience. That's how we're going to close candidates and win talent for our business.
Yeah, and this is a great plug for the next bullet that I sort of try to summarize this session around, which is like authenticity into recruitment marketing and the strategy around that. So obviously in our business, when we work with automated social recruitment marketing, as to your point, it's around the candidate's behavior. We're not engineering anything. We're just making sure they build their own candidate experience on the platform of their desire, making sure it's personalized and it's super timely and sophisticated. And to your point, personas today are online buyers. They're like customers on an everyday basis. And it's all about timing, turning someone into a customer. And the same thinking and strategy goes into recruiter enablement and recruitment marketing. But what would be your 2 cents in the aspect of then building that authenticity into recruitment marketing?
Yeah, Adam, I was just going off. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got to think about our recruiters as as part of the marketing channel, and we've got to think about our recruiters as part of the way that we deliver our employer brand. And so it's really important to strike a balance between making use of the skills that we hire recruiters for, which is their emotional intelligence, and their ability to achieve influence with hiring managers and with candidates, and really move a process forward. At the same time, we need to equip them with the right way to deliver the kind of message that the organization wants to put into the market. And so things like, an elevator pitch or a script. What's the first thing you would say to somebody in the go-to-market area, a salesperson or somebody like that, when you're reaching out to those people? What is a different type of messaging when you're reaching out to maybe a technologist or a scientist or some more left brain type of profession? And I really think we have to think about. I only became aware to me. We were talking about the ICP and the concept of personas and things like that. It only really became clear to me over the last year that we shouldn't have one EVP. We should have multiple EVPs according to who we're talking to. So the EVP for our organization for salespeople might be our commission's really great, whereas for technologists, it might be we're working on very important challenges that are going to change the world, or whatever it might be. So it could be completely different types of messaging. So giving recruiters the right script, the right message, the right objection handling. So our company does something quite boring. That's what the candidates think, or they've never heard of our brand. What's the way that we can instantly overcome that? Our company is associated with, I don't know, making guns, and candidates don't like that. Well, here's how we're moving away from making guns and doing something different, or whatever it might be. So the balance there is empowering recruiters to use their personalities to make things happen, but at the same time making sure that they're not having to make things up or guess or work hard to get information. Because if they're having to work hard to do that, they're spending less time with, as Holland said, qualified candidates.
The leads.
That's who they should be spending their time with.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I would, so overcome objections is hands down one of those big buckets that, I lean into. I think another really, valuable one in terms of, building that personalization, Sarah, is really providing valuable information that those leads can take back to their decision makers. And so when someone's picking, selecting a new employer, they're not the only one in the driver's seat. Like if they're maybe grabbing a glass of wine with their best friend and downloading about the organization, they're talking to their significant other, who's essentially their business partner in life. Maybe they're talking to members of their family. And so another element of that is really teaching your recruiters how to hone in on what are the things that are the decision criteria for this individual, who are the decision makers, just based on context cues that you may be getting, and then making sure that we're also equipping them with the right resources, messaging strategy, and content that they can then share back in those conversations, so that we are also priming the candidates to prime their stakeholders to say yes to our offer at hand. An example of that, I just had a baby last year, and so if I was going through the hiring process at that time, it would have been really important for me to understand flexibility. What does work-life integration look like at your organization? So making sure that recruiters are equipped with the right nuanced questions to ask to understand that that's a deciding factor in my, acceptance. And then providing a piece of collateral on flexible work arrangements would be killer in terms of helping me say yes to that opportunity.
Exactly. And creating the opportunity.
Exactly, yeah. And then I would, that Adam was talking about just the relationship between marketing and recruiting. And I would say that relationship needs to be redefined altogether. I think far too often, marketing and recruiting sit alongside of each other, and they're not integrated. And so my biggest piece of advice, if there are marketers on this call or recruiters on this call, is remove that silo, have regular meetings with each other, and make sure that you're sharing what are your pain points in terms of prospecting, closing candidates, and then marketing listen and your strategy to service those needs. At the end of the day, you're all there to fill opportunities, fill the pipeline, and so you're to be operating in concert. It needs to be a push and pull, not just a push from marketing to one side of the house.
Definitely. And for me also, in general, with like recruiter enablement, I think one aspect moving into like what we were beginning with there, Adam and Holland, on like human-centric AI and automation and then tech empowerment is also the sort of defining what a task costs in terms of time, or what it actually costs in terms of sort of hurting the strategy or the process. So what you guys are now bringing up is like all these epic aspects of personalization, but to point of like enablement leaders or like efficiency, you also have to make sure to analyze how much can you actually afford to spend writing a job ad, or or doing an assessment, or making sure you're preparing for an interview. Like all these bits really comes down to me, according to me, into like recruiter empowerment for sure, because there's so much unexpected time coming into like transitional tasks where like you have to make sure you are optimizing the right systems, the right automation, the right tools and tech in order to actually be able to do, but be on that sophisticated level that you guys are describing as of right now. That to me is such an important piece.
Yeah, and I do think that's where the
From my research,
go for it.
Oh, go.
Sorry, I think I've got like a few seconds lag here. Sorry about that. I from my research, if you get all of this right, you can save recruiters about 31 minutes per day, and that is through what we call toggle tax, which is the time spent clicking around all different things, trying to find things, typing on Teams. Does anybody know where I can find this? And also not recreating content which already exists. So instead of those three recruiters writing the same job advert, one person writing it, the other two not having to. So 31 minutes per day is what I think good recruiter enablement can save an individual.
And I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, the more data you'll get here, I believe we're looking at even more minutes. Yeah.
And I do think we're just at the tip of the iceberg. I think everyone has gone out and experimented, with a Gen AI provider in one way or the other. And I think we're very much in the co-pilot phase of adoption, where we're using Gen AI to automate and streamline repetitive tasks like job description creation, social posts. But we're doing it in the confines of our existing processes. I think as we, as a function and as the technology itself matures, we'll find ways to gain more time, back to your point, Sarah, by rethinking how do we outsource certain activities altogether versus, just letting AI run co-pilot for us at the moment. This is not related to Gen AI, and this is, definitely a dated case study. But back when I was at Delta, this is like early years of conversational AI. We were using Olivia and some of it, very, very early stage Olivia. And we were embedding Olivia, not on the front end of our process, but midstream. So for our flight attendant hiring process, significant, like really complex hiring process, really lengthy, about 16 weeks in total. And what we were finding is that recruiters were spending a ton of time just answering random ancillary questions midstream. It was just sucking at all of this energy that they really needed to be putting into, true evaluation of the 20,000 applicants that we received for that, for just 1,000 coveted spots. And so we embedded conversational AI midstream, or after you've made it, past application, past initial screen, you were then introduced to your candidate concierge, and we leveraged conversational AI to answer repetitive questions and FAQs that ultimately saved our recruiters 80 hours a week. Like that's 2 individuals that we were able to, account for in just introducing something as, simple at the time as a conversational AI partner.
Yeah. And also given, candidate experience, just making sure you have instant,
absolutely,
replies back. That's in like, if you were to do like a survey, you would have great experience, even if it's automated, even if it's Gen AI. I mean, just again, the experience you're giving to the client on the other side, definitely. There's a lot of great questions. We have to come to those questions at the end. We're running out of time, but just super quickly, I think it all comes down to, for me, with recruiter enablement as a way of empower recruiters, is also the educational part. Like, again, knowing where to utilize tools, tech, or whatever you have, and where to actually like stay on and be as human as you can. How do you guys, like, what's your take on like conscious inclusion or like diversity in general, of making sure that you know that you're not weeding out potential in just being time efficient, but actually you build a process of tools that's actually also measured and defined by some sort of like science or anything measured? Like, is this the way to build your most optimal candidate experience, or the process from attract to converting a candidate? I think the educational pieces is also going to be such an important aspect. And the more like data you guys get, for instance, in poetry, I believe you could start to sort of almost design like the go-to market, or how to build an ICP talent pipeline, or how you want to define it. But the knowledge piece and the data behind what is actually right in what moment of time will be the next phase, according to me. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah. Go for it, Adam. You look like you're about to speak.
Absolutely. I think it's all about data. It's all about tracking metadata around what's working. So you mentioned poetry. We've got 285 companies building assets in our product, and we're able to start capturing some data now, which shows what does good look like and what does not so good look like. And over time, it's going to be the second half of this year, we're going to be able to provide using proprietary data, real great recommendations around you need to remove these 4 words, and you need to do certain things to create more inclusive language in this. Right now, we're using simple things like the cat mat field gender decoder, words and certain things like that. We're using a lot of publicly available sources of information to help provide recommendations around what inclusive language looks like. This is a really, really important subject, and I'm massively committed to making it better.
Yeah. And I also, our goal is to, at the end of the day, get those recruiters to spend more time with qualified leads. And, in an ideal world, that is a diverse set of qualified leads for your organization. And I think, Sarah, that's where technology, how do we get technology to do some of those rudimentary and repetitive tasks, so that the elements that require like true human evaluation and emotional intelligence, the attributes that make great recruiters, they're able to spend their time on those value add activities.
Nice. Yeah, to point, I've been, again, we're in the community, everyone's talking about recruiter enablement, and to one thought that just popping up to me is like, it's not just like throwing tools and like materials or scripts or pitches to recruiter. It's about then defining, weeding, and analyzing out what is actually gonna support you in this process. So it's not just, again, like overwhelming someone. It's more like seeing what actually moves the needle in terms of if it's time, if it's efficiency, if it's conscious inclusiveness, all these important bits. That to me is sort of where actually the empowerment piece comes in, because you don't have the time as a recruiter today to screen all the new different strategies, tools, industry, aspects of how to actually like funnel someone down. You have to be served with that knowledge. That's to me where recruiter empowerment really, really serves a big play.
For sure. And you need to be asked. That would be my big recommendation. If there are marketers on this call, ask your recruiters. They know what they need. And recruiters, don't be satisfied with the status quo of your marketing team just pushing stuff over the fence. Like really sit down and have a conversation and work through that needs analysis together.
Agreed. There's so many great questions, and they're quite long questions. I'll spend some time after this stream when we go off and answer them all. And if you guys, Holland and Adam, want to too, please do. But if we were to wrap up this session, I want to ask you both your two main key takeaways. Like, if there's anything people watching this show should take with them from this session, what 2 items would that be?
I'll kind of roll off of what I just shared and then let Adam bring us home. But define the relationship, like really define the relationship between marketing and recruiting and enablement leaders and really understand where you play in the sand together and define and agree to a regular cadence that you're going to come together to assess, your evolving needs as a function in total. And then two is, you're already probably doing a lot of what we're talking about on this call. This isn't, some new, nascent concept. So I would say just audit what you're doing. Take your time to really get your hands around what's your existing technology, what content do you have available, and really start to aggregate that together and just being a little bit more discerning around your current practice.
Adam, take us home.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I think any asset that is a repeat use piece of content or collateral or something like that, make sure it's available to people and they can go and use it rather than writing their own versions of it or designing their own versions of it. And bring as many things as possible into the one place. And SharePoint or Google Drive or Notion or Confluence are better than nothing for sure. So if you've got access to that with Teams.
And I mean, join in on all the talent communities, like all the recruiter communities as well, and like challenge each other, share experiences. That's already happening. But again, coming down to the educational part of what is actually moving the needle for your recruitment process. It's not just throwing tools at us. It's actually looking at the data and what is really delivering for us to spend more time with our leads, which is candidates. Yeah. Fabulous. Thank you guys so much for being on the show. Again, everyone who comments summary, we get all the key takeaways and the summary from this epic session. Make sure that you follow Adam and Holland. And if there's any questions from the audience, I guess you guys also will spend some time answering those. So thank you everyone for watching and have a great rest of the day.
Will do.
Thank you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.